I'm 65. It took me 30 years to learn this. Don't make the same mistakes. At 60 years of age, I can definitively say that it took me over 3 decades of dedicated effort and personal experience to truly grasp the profound insights I am about to share. This journey has been marked by significant challenges and, frankly, a series of colossal errors in judgment concerning health and well-being. My intention in revealing these 7 of the most impactful mistakes I've personally navigated is to serve as a guide, a cautionary tale, if you will, so that you might bypass the extensive suffering and confusion that plagued me for so long. In the throes of making these errors, it was incredibly difficult to sway my perspective. I was entrenched in a mindset of perceived omniscience, quite unreceptive to alternative viewpoints or advice. Therefore, I sincerely hope that you are approaching this information with an open mind and a willingness to learn, as doing so can undoubtedly spare you years of unnecessary distress and physical ailment. It's a curious thing, perhaps a testament to a certain inclination towards enduring hardship, but I have weathered some truly formidable health crises throughout my life. On one hand, this personal history has afforded me a unique ability to empathize with a vast spectrum of individuals, having experienced firsthand nearly every symptom that my own patients have presented with. While I wouldn't wish such experiences upon anyone, this shared understanding has proven invaluable. Now let us delve directly into the 7 monumental blunders I made, illuminating what I ought to have done instead. Mistake number 1, consuming 100 vitamins daily. There came a period in my existence when the sheer volume of vitamins I was ingesting far surpassed even that astonishing figure. I was regularly taking well over 100 pills a day, and I'm not just referring to individual vitamin supplements. I mean entire bottles. I recall instances while driving with my wife where I would impulsively suggest a detour to the nearest health food store, harboring the naive hope that yet another supplement could hold the key to my well-being. We would enter and inevitably emerge with an overflowing collection of new pills. My home had transformed into a veritable warehouse of vitamins. At the time, I was grappling with debilitating chronic fatigue syndrome, wrestling with severe insomnia, and enduring the persistent ache of arthritis, alongside a constellation of other ailments. My sole focus was on discovering that one magical vitamin that would miraculously imbue me with boundless energy and alleviate my suffering. This cycle repeated itself ad nauseum, fueled by an earnest desire to avoid pharmaceutical interventions and an unwavering conviction that natural remedies were the only viable path. However, what I profoundly failed to comprehend then was the fundamental principle that the efficacy of these supplements is inextricably linked to the quality of one's diet. My diet, to put it mildly, was abysmal. I was severely lacking in essential macronutrients, those vital components of our diet that include fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. I was also adhering to a vegan diet at the time, attempting to derive my protein intake solely from plant sources, a strategy that proved disastrous. The protein deficiency left me perpetually unsatisfied and struggling to maintain any semblance of energy. In retrospect, my approach should have been entirely different. I should have prioritized incorporating animal protein into my morning meals. It is imperative to understand that the primary role of protein is the repair and rebuilding of our bodily tissues. A substantial portion of our body is composed of protein, and this requires constant replenishment. While protein can contribute to energy production, our primary energy sources are carbohydrates and fats. And here's a crucial recommendation. I advocate for deriving your energy predominantly from fats rather than carbohydrates. Had I possessed the wisdom of hindsight, I would have unequivocally focused on consuming fatty animal meats. Mistake number 2, the obsession with detoxification. In those years, the trend of detoxing was exceptionally popular, often involving drastic measures that unfortunately, and often unknowingly, led to the expulsion of beneficial gut bacteria and crucial electrolytes, a practice that carries significant health risks. These protocols typically involved consuming very little solid food, relying instead on meager portions of fiber, copious amounts of apple juice, and various supplements. The core problem with these juice-based fasts, and indeed any cleanse or fasting program involving juice, is the inherent sugar content. Had I abstained from the apple juice, it would have been possible for my body to enter a state of ketosis, a metabolic condition where the body burns fat for fuel, potentially leading to a feeling of well-being. However, the presence of sugars in the juice prevented this metabolic shift, keeping me in a constant state of hunger. I remember undertaking the notorious Master Cleanse, a regimen consisting of lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. This was a profoundly misguided choice, as the consistent intake of sugar prevented my body from ever transitioning to fat burning. Consequently, I experienced perpetual hunger and a pervasive sense of misery throughout the duration of these cleanses. Moreover, these detoxification attempts frequently resulted in significant digestive disturbances in their aftermath. My misguided enthusiasm for detoxification extended beyond colon cleanses. I also engaged in numerous herbal detoxes. I cannot count the number of times I found myself incapacitated by illness for 2 weeks, a direct consequence of consuming potent herbs that released toxins, thereby triggering a severe immune response that left me bedridden and debilitated. I distinctly recall one particularly alarming incident involving a gallbladder cleanse. To prepare, I consumed 12 ounces of extra virgin olive oil, preceded by a handful of beet pills, a desperate attempt to wash down the oil. This was an exceptionally foolish decision. The sheer volume of olive oil, combined with the initial sensation in my mouth, caused it to solidify in my esophagus, a terrifying experience that nearly proved fatal. The subsequent instruction was to lie on my right side for an extended period, a ritual I subjected myself to repeatedly. Looking back, these detoxification endeavors were a complete and utter waste of time. The effective and sustainable solution would have been to adopt a well-balanced eating plan, perhaps supplemented with a few targeted supplements, with a primary focus on incorporating animal protein, ample vegetables, beneficial probiotics, and some dairy. Had I implemented these simple yet crucial changes, I would have resolved a multitude of my health issues. Mistake number 3, procrastinating healthy eating until graduation. During my college years, my diet was a disastrous combination of excessive carbohydrates and an unhealthy reliance on extremely strong coffee. The profound regret I feel when I consider this period is immense. If only I had possessed the foresight to eat healthily during college, which frankly would not have been prohibitively expensive. Simple, nutrient-dense foods like eggs or sardines would have been readily accessible and far more beneficial. The consequences of my poor dietary choices were palpable. My cognitive function was severely impaired, and I was perpetually exhausted, struggling to concentrate on my studies. The constant fatigue was a significant impediment, often necessitating prolonged periods of sleep just to function. Much of this pervasive tiredness stemmed from unstable blood sugar levels, a factor I was completely unaware of at the time. Curiously, even upon graduating, my commitment to healthy eating did not materialize. Instead, I embraced a vegan lifestyle for a period, mistakenly believing it to be the pinnacle of healthy eating, relying heavily on beans and what I perceived as clean protein. This proved to be a grave error, as my entire digestive system became inflamed and my health began a precipitous decline. It wasn't until much later that I discovered the immensely beneficial ketogenic diet, a dietary approach that truly initiated a significant turnaround in my health. Had I known about the advantages of the ketogenic diet during my college years, it would have been an absolute game changer. I implore you not to fall into the same trap of deferring your health goals until you reach a certain age or milestone. The consequences of neglecting your well-being will invariably catch up with you sooner rather than later. It is far more prudent to make these positive changes right now, and I can assure you, the future you will be immensely grateful. Mistake number 4, misattributing right shoulder pain. This is a particularly peculiar and illustrative example of a misguided self-diagnosis. I developed a persistent and bothersome pain in my right shoulder, which I became convinced required a direct intervention to fix. Consequently, I sought treatment from a veritable army of professionals. physical therapists, chiropractors, and massage therapists, all of whom diligently worked on my shoulder. Concurrently, I experienced a constant and uncomfortable tightness beneath my right rib cage, a sensation that became a permanent fixture of my physical experience, yet its origin remained a mystery. The crucial insight I missed, and that many people overlook, is that persistent right shoulder pain is almost invariably a signal, a red flag, indicating an issue with the gallbladder and the bile ducts in the liver. After suffering an ulcer, I consulted several physicians who, much to my frustration, offered little explanation for my persistent discomfort, looking at me with a puzzled expression. The underlying cause of my referred pain was likely sludge in my bile ducts, which led to tightness in that region, ultimately manifesting as pain in my right shoulder. This brings me to a critical question for you to consider. Are you truly addressing the root cause of your discomfort, or could the pain you are experiencing be originating from an entirely different, perhaps less obvious, source? This, in essence, is the invaluable lesson derived from this particular experience. Mistake number 5, the ineffectiveness of my initial intermittent fasting approach. When the concept of intermittent fasting was first introduced to me, I dismissed it entirely, regarding it as insignificant and offering no real benefit. This changed only when I decided to personally experiment with it and, more importantly, to view it through the lens of our ancestors who did not engage in frequent eating patterns. The fundamental issue with constant eating or snacking is that it triggers an insulin response every single time you consume food. It is this persistent elevation of insulin due to frequent eating that contributes to a multitude of health problems, far more significantly than most people realize. The habitual snacking, particularly in the hours before bedtime, the constant grazing throughout the day, these are behaviors our bodies are simply not designed for. My own experience was transformative. As soon as I curtailed my snacking habits, I witnessed a dramatic physical change, shedding 26 pounds, and the persistent swelling around my eyes, which I now understand was a manifestation of an insulin imbalance and fluid retention, completely disappeared. Many individuals who experience a puffy or round face or swollen eyes are often inadvertently consuming too many snacks and excessive carbohydrates. Therefore, intermittent fasting proved to be an absolute revelation, a genuine game changer. I wholeheartedly recommend it to everyone. For the average individual, I advocate for limiting food intake to 2 meals per day. In some cases, even a single meal per day can be highly beneficial. The reason is that consuming too many meals throughout the day incessantly elevates insulin levels. What often feels like genuine hunger is, in reality, a symptom of low blood sugar, an indication that your body is running primarily on glucose. This glucose-fueled state is unsustainable for long periods, typically lasting only an hour and a half before the urge for a small intake of energy arises. This creates a cyclical pattern where you are continuously fueling your body, but essentially running on sugar, never allowing yourself to transition into fat-burning mode or ketosis. The true purpose of intermittent fasting is to enable your body to move seamlessly from one meal to the next without experiencing overwhelming hunger, facilitating a shift towards more efficient fat metabolism. Mistake number 6, the overindulgence in kale shakes. While I still have numerous videos advocating for kale shakes, my past approach involved an excessive consumption of them. I was firmly entrenched in the belief that a tremendous amount of fiber was absolutely essential, and for a period I seemed to be managing without significant issues. However, I've observed that many individuals overload their systems with fiber, especially through copious amounts of kale shakes, leading to bloating and inflammation within their gut. In retrospect, my approach should have been far more measured. I should have started with smaller quantities and assessed individual tolerance rather than going overboard with kale shakes. Furthermore, kale shakes often require sweetening, typically with fruits like pineapple or blueberries, thereby introducing additional carbohydrates into the equation, diminishing their overall healthfulness. This does not imply that I am against plant-based foods or combinations of vegetables. For the majority of people, a moderate intake of vegetables is highly beneficial, though some individuals may require even smaller portions. I no longer consume 10 cups of salad daily. In fact, I do not recommend it. My current practice involves consuming approximately 5 cups of salad once a day, though I sometimes alternate this with fermented sauerkraut, which I consume regularly. Occasionally, I will opt for a kale shake, but it is significantly smaller in volume and usually contains a modest amount of blueberries. I am particularly cautious about consuming excessive amounts of fruit, especially overly sweet varieties like pineapple. And if you are relying on a kale shake as your primary breakfast, I strongly advise against it. If you are seeking to optimize your morning meal, I recommend a protein-rich breakfast. A small, sweet, carbohydrate-based option for breakfast is likely to trigger increased hunger and cravings later in the day. Mistake number 7, the critical deficiency in magnesium. One of the most effective strategies for both preventing and treating kidney stones is ensuring adequate magnesium intake. A deficiency in magnesium can lead to an imbalanced ratio of calcium to magnesium, which in turn can promote the binding of calcium to oxalates. It's important to note that our bodies naturally produce oxalates, and they are not solely derived from foods like spinach, kale, almonds, and chocolate. In my own case, I experienced a kidney stone at a time when I was not consuming large quantities of spinach or similar foods, but I was severely deficient in magnesium. Throughout my younger years, I rarely supplemented with magnesium. Magnesium plays a vital role in preventing calcium from forming stones, and ensuring sufficient levels can be a significant factor in helping individuals pass existing stones, especially if they are in the early stages of formation and in preventing future occurrences. However, the impact of magnesium deficiency extends beyond kidney stones. I also suffered from debilitating muscle spasms. Magnesium is intrinsically linked to muscle relaxation. It acts as a crucial regulator of calcium. When magnesium levels are insufficient, calcium can exert its influence unchecked, leading to an increase in muscle contractions. I experienced frequent and severe Charlie horses and cramps. In addition, for years, I struggled with profound insomnia and debilitating fatigue. Therefore, my magnesium deficiency was exceptionally severe, compounded by a concurrent deficiency in vitamin D. Both of these deficiencies presented significant health challenges. It is believed that one of the reasons our ancestors maintained adequate magnesium levels was their consumption of magnesium-rich well water. However, with the advent of modern water treatment, particularly in municipal water supplies, this source of magnesium has been largely eliminated, contributing significantly to the widespread magnesium deficiency observed today. To help you implement a healthier routine, I have created a free downloadable daily routine checklist. This is the exact routine I follow every day to maintain a feeling of youthful vitality, even at 60 years old. You can access it via the link provided below. Now that I have thoroughly outlined the 7 major mistakes I have made, let us shift our focus to the most crucial foods you should be incorporating into your diet. You can find detailed information on this topic in the video that appears here. Please take a moment to watch it.